What's up, everybody? Crypto Noah back with another yield farming video. In this video, we're going to be talking about what decentralized exchange should you be yield farming on, how to go about determining which DEX you should yield farm on. So we'll break down what yield farming is, and I'm going to show you my process to determine, hey, which DEX should I farm on? Like, why? All the details around it. So before I dive in, I do have to say none of this is financial advice. These are my own perspectives, my own research, and my own opinions. Should be treated as such. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the video, starting off with what is yield farming. So it's multiple ways to get a yield. You know, you have staking, you have depositing your funds on borrowing and lending platforms like Aave, depositing your funds on insurance platforms such as Nexus Mutual. But the way we're going to be talking about, and the way we normally talk about on this channel, the most profitable way to yield farm is provide liquidity in the form of pairs, sometimes single site staking, on decentralized exchanges in what's called liquidity pools. So now, let's say I want to yield farm. I want to earn some passive income. There's so many decentralized exchanges out there. How do I go about picking the right one? Well, the first thing is you never want to start with the exchange. Like, obviously, you don't want to go on some new exchange that has a low TVL, maybe isn't audited, but you want to start with the token that you're trying to accumulate first. And then everything comes after. That's the first thing you start with. So you never want to just chase the yields or even just a DEX. You never LP for any token you wouldn't hold on its own. So that means if you're LPing for 2 tokens, you should have a hodl bag of those tokens. If not, that means you don't believe in it. And if you don't believe in it, you shouldn't be providing liquidity in it, because if it goes to zero, providing liquidity is like a limit order for the underperforming asset. So if you do ETH and some shitcoin and the shitcoin goes to zero, the smart contract is going to accumulate that shitcoin and you just lost all of your ETH. So after you find the token that you want to provide liquidity for, first you go and find the best pair for that token. And what I mean by best pair, you find the best one with the highest volume to TVL ratio. And what I mean by that is you find the token that has the highest percentage of trading. You find which other token is traded with the most with the token you're trying to accumulate in terms of the percentage. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm here at CoinGecko. Let's say I want to accumulate Maple, right? You guys have been hearing me talk about Maple for a while. So you can see that Maple is only on Ethereum. Sometimes it's on multiple DEXs, but you scroll down and you see where most of the trading is happening and which pair it's happening on in terms of percentages. So if I look here, you can see that Maple ETH has 7.29% of all trading of Maple, right? And since we're in a bull market, I would rather be doing Maple ETH versus Maple USDC, because it's way harder to stay in range. Because if ETH rises or if Maple rises, it's a chance that both of them are going to rise, versus if Maple rises, it's going to leave USDC behind, and if it drops, same thing. After that, you want to go about determining your ranges. And I've made videos on how to select your ranges, so I won't dive too deep into it here. But you want to come up with the thesis as to where you think the market is going to be heading, and you want to provide liquidity within that range. And the cool thing about providing liquidity is it gives you more room to fuck up. You know, versus doing a limit order and it has to hit that certain price. You have a wide range or a narrow range, but you can select a range where you say, hey, as long as price is trading between this range, I'm making passive income. Then after that, you might want to back test, unless you don't care about the past yields because you're expecting a major increase in volume or you're expecting a major increase in price. And those aren't the same things, right? Like Maple ETH, you can have an increase in volume, but Maple and ETH could be still having the same percentage in terms of appreciation. But if you're expecting Maple to outperform ETH, you probably want to provide more liquidity to the upside of the range so you can give it room to run so you can capture that yield. You want to be within range when the highest volume days are happening, right? And in terms of backtesting, you can use DeFi Labs, you can use metrics.finance, and I've made videos on how to do it. You input the range, you can select how many days, like, hey, if I was providing liquidity for these amount of days, you can see how much yield you would have gotten, right? And I recommend backtesting when you think price is going to trade within the same range, right? But if you think volume's going to increase, or if you think one asset is going to outperform the other, backtesting doesn't matter as much, but it still may be a good idea to do it just to see how well it's been paying out. So to conclude, never start with the DEX. Always start with the asset you want to accumulate or the pair you want to LP for first, right? Unless, and here's the exception, unless they're running some kind of incentives for some projects that you're bullish on. So like, for example, there was a time where if you provided liquidity on Arbitrum ETH, or a lot of things on Arbitrum, because Arbitrum was giving away free tokens, on QuickSwap, They would have gave you free arbitrum tokens just for providing liquidity in certain pools. So like, let's say I'm in arbitrum ETH and I'm getting, the trading fees, but on top of that, I'm getting extra arbitrum. Well, that may be a good time to start with the DEX, assuming that you trust the DEX. And, QuickSwap is a DEX that I trust. I have provided liquidity on there before, and I've made videos on QuickSwap. And then obviously you don't want to LP for some small DEX with low TVL that doesn't have an audit. I don't care how good the yield seems to be. It's mostly about maintaining, all right? And you don't want to lose your capital because you want to be in this thing for the long run. So lastly, guys, before I conclude this video, if you like this kind of content and you want to learn how to provide liquidity and deploy the same strategies that mainstream market makers have been doing for centuries with an elite group, with elite coaches, get access to buy and sell calls that are deeply researched, click the link in the description, book a free strategy session. You'll talk to me or one of our coaches. We'll see if our program is a good fit for you, and at the very least, answer any questions you may have on yield farming and crypto. But with that, I'd like to conclude this video. If you got value, I ask that you drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe, share with a friend. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I love every single one of you who's tuned in, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and trade safe.